Welcome to the Chic Show. Today I'm sharing 10 Dollar Tree decorating hacks using some of their clear plastic products. There are several items in this line that give you that acrylic feel without the price tag. For the first project, we'll be using one of these stackable organizing drawers. I'm also using a resin flower that I poured using a mold from Hobby Lobby in the cake section. I'm using some gold leaf paint to paint the flower. To give it a little bit more depth and a little bit more brightness in places, I did use this gold paint pen. Now we're only using the outside part of the drawer. I've removed the drawer here and we're only using that outside shell. So I'm going to be using some Gorilla Glue, clear glue, to glue the flower on the plastic drawer, and then I'm going to let that sit overnight. And this gives just a little bit of glam to your space. Next, we'll be using one of these clear plastic vanity organizers. Again, I'm going to be using some resin and I'm going to place my little doodad right here. This is quick set resin and you can see it's already setting up there. And as soon as it turns completely white, it's ready to be removed. I removed it just a tad bit early because this piece does have a little bit of a curve. So I wanted to place the resin piece onto that curve while it was still a little bit movable. I used rub and buff on this piece with a little bit of dark wax over the top and then wiped that back. And then again, I'm using some of the clear Gorilla Glue, connect the two pieces together, and then I'll let it sit overnight. For this project, I'm using one of these ice buckets from the catering section. And I'm going to be using this resin mold, and I'm using these pieces right here. If you've never worked with resin before, you do mix equal parts together. It does get warm when you mix it up, and this is the quick set resin, so you see this turn white almost right before your eyes. These molds are from IOD, and they do have an amount for each little section, so you know exactly how much resin to pour. Again, I did remove these pieces just a little bit early because there is a curve to this ice bucket, and I wanted to put it on the ice bucket and let it harden with that curve before I actually glue it on. Once I think that has pretty much cured, I'm going to pull the pieces off and I'm going to be using some rub and buff. I know I am using a lot of resin today, but I am giving you some other ideas on other things you can use other than resin pieces and molds. You can also use stickers, you can use rub-on transfers, you can use even window clings. So just know you don't have to use resin. That just happens to be my new obsession. Now once again, I'm using that clear Gorilla Glue to adhere the pieces. This ice bucket, of course, is not flat, it is rounded, so these pieces do need some time to dry. So to keep them from sliding around, I used some painter's tape to tape them in place. Once again, I did let this glue set up overnight before I removed that painter's tape. For this DIY, I'm using one of these acrylic note boards. It does come with one stand, but it has a place for two stands, so I'm not sure what that's about. But anyway, here's a resin piece that I poured previously. Right now I'm thinking I'm going to leave it white, so I'm going to use a little bit of Tite Bond and a little bit of the Gorilla Glue to adhere this to the calendar. After further consideration, I went back with that rub and buff in antique gold, and I just highlighted the edges and the raised parts of this fleur-de-lis. Now, using these little resin flowers that I poured previously, I'm going to mix together some hot pink paint and some white paint. These are just acrylic paints. I'm just mixing those together and I'm going to paint my flowers. Once the flowers are dry, I'm going to go back with that gold rub and buff. Can you tell I love this stuff? And I'm going to go around all of those raised edges. This time I'm going to be using one of these acrylic photo frames. Now, just so you know, there is a protective coating on the top. I learned this the hard way. I glued my flowers to the front of the frame and there was a protective coat on there, and that did not work. So make sure you remove that protective coating first, and then you can glue on your flowers and let them sit overnight. Now I'm mixing together some modeling paste and some pink paint, hot pink paint. Mixing that together really well, and then I'm going to be using another one of the Dollar Tree plastic drawers. This time we'll be using the whole thing. I used a craft stick to make a heart on the front of the drawer. Now this time the opening of the drawer is going to go up. So where you pull the drawer out will actually be on the top side. While that modeling paste is still wet, I took another little resin piece and I put it into the middle, and then I let this sit overnight. I'm going back in with that rub and buff to highlight all of the raised and textured areas. Now what I forgot to show you was inside the drawer I took a piece of vellum paper that I got at Hobby Lobby and I cut it to fit. It's gold and has little clear hearts, and I thought this would be the best background for this little piece. So I lined the inside of the drawer as you see here, and then I placed the drawer down inside. As I was searching Dollar Tree for any other clear plastic products, I did run across this little piece in the teacher section. I thought I would be able to remove the paint on the outside, but the paint was actually on the inside, and it's actually two pieces of plastic put together, so I didn't want to tear it up. So I just left it as it was and shifted gears just a little bit. So this time I'm going to color some resin with some red and blue ink to make a purple flower, since the little border on this piece is purple. And once again, I used that Gorilla Glue to glue the flower to the front, and then we have this little piece. It's probably not my favorite. I had a better vision for it, but I think it will be fun for a kid's room. This is a mold. I think it's a popsicle mold that I got from Dollar General for, I think it was $1. And I'm going to be using the stars here for this piece. I'm going to be using some Rub and Buff in gold, and surprise, I'm using Rub and Buff in silver. And for this piece, it will be the night light that is clear in the hardware section. I'm just going to play with my positioning of my stars just a bit, and then I will glue those down and let it sit overnight. No resin on this craft. For this one, I'm using one of IOD's rub-on transfers, but you could use any from Dollar Tree. I have lots of those as well. This one just happened to fit perfectly, so I positioned it on the top of this 3-sectioned container. And this is perfect for all my jewelry. And the last project today is using one of these little organizers, also from Dollar Tree, and a simple window cling. It doesn't have to be difficult, doesn't have to be expensive. You can dress these clear containers up very easily with window clings, stickers, anything you cut out from your Cricut. You could even paint on them or decoupage on them. This window cling has the perfect colors for my craft room that I can use all of my fancy rub and buff brushes, or AKA concealer brushes. Let's look back at all 10 of the Dollar Tree decorating hacks that I have for these plastic products. Let me know which one is your favorite. I would love to know. And if you're not subscribed to the Chic family, I invite you to do so. Just click that subscribe button and hit that little bell so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. I love inspiring people to create budget-friendly, high-end looking decor. Thanks so very much for watching. Remember to share the chic. Bye now.